A to the K.
to the K.
A to the K. Hello, welcome back to another fun-filled week of the A2theK Wrestling Show with your hosts Carl and Anthony. And as is tradition, let us kick over to Road Dogg for A2theK's little-known fact of the week.
Oh, you didn't know?
Beautiful. Now, in this week's unique segment, we will have another superstar spotlight covering the big dog, Roman Reigns, now that he has surpassed...
Probably the first controversial one.
Probably, actually. Let's see how it pans out.
Because most people just absolutely love that people were spotlighting. But Roman, despite as popular as he is now, still has a little bit of hate around him. So,
a little bit of hate.
Anyway, we'll get to that.
Just me blacking out the haters. So, yeah, basically, obviously he has surpassed CM Punk's 434-day title reign this past week. But did you know, Anthony, Roman Reigns never actually intended to be a professional wrestler. So Roman was determined to make it in the National Football League with the Minnesota Vikings, obviously where Brock Lesnar previously played, and the Khan-owned Jacksonville Jaguars.
You heard it here first. Roman Reigns
the crossover.
Is off to AEW.
Roman Reigns is all elite. However, as we know, he was forced to retire from the NFL due to injury, but he still never went into wrestling. Instead, he worked alongside the Usos. I'm not even making this up, right? He worked alongside the Usos as a furniture installation worker. That's right.
Obviously.
The head of the table built the damn table. Right, that's what we're saying. So yeah, how mad's that?
That fucking table is sturdy.
How
none of this
mad
WWE crap.
Exactly. He engineered that bitch. But yeah, imagine that. Imagine being like, oh no, my NFL career is over. Yes, I can go into the WWE. Nah, I'm going to do furniture and shit with the Usos. Like, what? You couldn't write this shit. But yeah, so there you have it. Obviously...
That's crazy.
Yeah, so, maybe we'll have even more fun-filled facts like that in Roman Reigns' Superstar Spotlight this week. But until now, that was A2theK's little-known fact of the week, and this is Road Dogg to sing us back out.
Oh, you didn't know?
Now, I wouldn't mind Roman as a furniture installation guy.
Okay.
Right? But you don't think the Usos would be a little bit too excitable?
Probably.
I don't know what kind of business they were in. They come to your home to install all the furniture or whatever the shit they did, and they're all just bouncing around everywhere and stuff. You'd be like, just calm down. Do you want a cup of tea?
It's been flat pack since day one. Day one.
Ooh, so relax.
Yeah. I think they were going to let Jimmy drive the van, but then. Yeah.
Savage.
I'm a terrible person. We shouldn't laugh. But yeah. So, let's kick off, Anthony, with WWE this week. Do you want to take us through the first highlight of the week?
I mean, sure. So, obviously, we start with WWE, as is tradition, Carl. And my first one actually will go to Bianca and Becky. What? So, oddly, I say oddly, that's a bit unfair. I've not been a fan of Becky's return and the way they've treated her and Bianca so far. I will be honest with that. But that being said, this was a really good match. It was significantly better than the triple threat at Crown Jewel. And it does leave the question, what does this mean for Bianca now?
What does it all mean?
Because, it does... that's probably I don't want to be negative because it is a highlight. It was all really good. But, are we moving on to Becky having some new challenges going forward? What actually happens with Bianca now? It seems like they've sort of taken her out of the title contention. Or it certainly feels that vibe. I don't know how you feel about that. But at least this was better than previous interactions they've had because I don't think they gave her much justice in the first place. But it's a highlight, and it was a good match, Carl.
I concur. No, I actually can. I concur. I agree. It was good.
I concur.
But yeah, no, I agree. I think the Crown Jewel thing felt a little bit... It was just... I don't know. It was too much going on in a bad way. I don't know. I wasn't a big fan of it. I think we both said, obviously, we watched it live. And we thought it could have been better. So, yeah, I'm surprised in a way that they had the rematch so soon and that Becky went over. But obviously, I guess that Bianca will end up getting that win back at some point. So I imagine it'll give Bianca a bit of space out of the main title scene for a little bit. maybe have another feud or two with someone else, and then I can see her coming back and getting that win back from Becky, because the first time was a surprise victory, and then this one was obviously a little bit of hijinks involved. But
the thing, like they kind of probably have to do it now. Like you can't have her suffer that many losses to Becky. In a way, like, all right, triple threat, but you can't have her sort of lose that many times and then still be in the title contention. So I suppose she needs some time away and, crack on being awesome and then come back. Maybe not against Becky, because Becky will inevitably lose the title at some point. Unless she's going to be like the next Roman Reigns.
Well, maybe. But I mean, to be fair, I think she'll keep it until she loses it to Bianca. So I think she'll have another couple of feuds. And then I think whether it's like the Rumble or folks. Mania or whatever. Yeah. Predictions. So the next highlight to talk about is probably one that might surprise you, actually. Damien Priest versus TBar, of all people. Now, I mean,
it's a fucking weird combo.
It is, and I think I've never been much of a fan of Dominik Djokovic, or whatever he was called, in NXT. To be honest, I know a lot of people really got on board with him, but it was significantly better than fucking T-Bag, as he has been known for the last kind of year or so.
I think the thing is with him, he clearly knows what he's doing in the ring. He's no slouch. But I think certainly we can both agree that I didn't get it.
Mm-hmm.
Like you say, even when he was Dominik Djokovic, I didn't get it. There was nothing like that drawed you into him, or certainly for me anyway.
Yeah.
So I can totally see your point in that sense. That the T-Bar thing really didn't help. He's got more character on Twitter than he has on screen, which is weird.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, and some people just can't kind of convey their personalities in front of the camera. And there's someone else like that who I'll talk about again in a minute. But I think, to be fair, he came across as really menacing, brutal, and fair play to Damien Priest as well. He got some serious welts off that kendo stick. He did not hold back T-Bar, so absolutely smashed him. But yeah, all in all, I thought it was a really good watch, and it was something that I was expecting to be like, this is going to be like fast forward material, but it's really good. Fair play. It surprised me to a degree. So
I think I like it when they're surprisingly good.
I know.
Just don't see it coming, do you?
I'm just like conditioned whenever you see T-Bar on the screen. You're just like, bathroom break. But no, I'm glad
about that, man. Just makes you want to piss.
P-bar. But yeah, I'm glad I stuck around for it, because it gets a thumbs up from me.
Indeed. So, moving swiftly on there then. Seth Rollins, I don't think he'll ever not be a highlight, to be honest. And again, basically the same things that you would expect me to say about Seth Rollins and why he deserves to be a highlight is the fact that he is a fantastic, cocky, squirmy, weaselly fucking heel, right? He's so good at doing that. He's so good with a mic in his hand. And honestly, he's going to be a great foil for Big E. I think this is the right way to do it, because we both have had a lot of concerns about Big E as a champion, maybe being a bit too soon for sort of his. I don't even know how to explain it, because he's like, I'm not going to say he's bad on the mic, because he's not. He knows how to talk. There's just something missing, isn't there? So I think I was a little bit worried, but with this kind of feud to help sort of draw him out as a legit champ, I think why the hell not? And Seth, I think, is the perfect man to help elevate him.
Yeah, I agree. He's just I just love him. His little horrible laugh that he does, and he's an asshole, isn't he? It's what you want. It's what you want. So I concur with that. And then the next one to talk about. So Ricochet is the other guy who I was making the comparison with T-Bar. He seems to come across better on bloody Twitter than he does in actually on your telly. I think Drew McIntyre, another open challenge. This. If you can cast your mind back, it was a bit of a throwback to the pandemic era Raw, when Drew was the champion and he was in the locker room looking for a fight. And I remember Ricochet squared up to him. I don't think he ended up going on to fight him that night, but it was kind of like, oh, okay, that's interesting. But I'm a massive fan of Ricochet in terms of his ability. I think everybody is, similar to T-Bar. He's just missing something. He just hasn't got that charisma or personality in front of the camera, unfortunately.
I think, honestly, there's quite a lot of people you can say that about, and I think that is probably the definition of WWE these days, and maybe the reason that they struggle to make big stars, because there's always some element of the big star missing from them. Do you know what I mean? The closest thing they've got is Roman Reigns, and that took, 10 years? So, I totally agree. Ricochet is definitely a super talented guy, but just something a little bit there. So some sort of edge missing. Not edge, but edge.
But no, I think obviously it didn't highlight because the match itself was really good. I'm still not sick of the open challenges. I was a fan of it when John Cena was doing it. I was a fan of it when Cody was doing it for the TNT title. I'm always a fan of these, who's in the back that wants to come and have a scrap. And, it fits Drew's character quite well as well. I don't know why he is kind of doing this, because really he's a former champ quite recently, and he can probably just go to, I don't know, whoever the fuck's running the show, Deville, Pierce, who knows, and just be like, all right, I want to fight Roman. And they'd be like, okay, that's a major main event, of course. But no, he's like, I'm just going to beat people up and I'm working my way up. So I don't know why he needs to do that, but, if it gets good, interesting matchups every week, then fair play.
Looking it up. That's fair. Well, I think we need to move over to the O'Shites now, unfortunately. That is the end of the highlights for me. And I hit the first O'Shite call, and I think, if you do anything other than agree, then I quit. Okay? No pressure. But that is Ray and Dominik. Now, I'll be honest, I've not been a fan of the blatant nepotism that we have had with Dominik. I feel like he was green as fucking grass, and I didn't mind when he first came in and he was up against Seth, and they made that part of the story. Seth was clearly taking advantage, and the only time Dominik was able to sort of get a win is because Seth was being cocky and delaying the pin and stuff like that. I was totally fine with all that, but now he's still on my screen, he's still in prominent matches, he's part of team fucking, is it Raw? I can't even remember what side he's on anymore. Why would you have him in your Survivor Series team? I know they're gonna try and make a plot out of it. We'll talk about that next week. But why the fuck would he even be like that? Shouldn't have even ever been put as a thing ever, right? But here we are with Ray and Dominik in just god awful storyline. Like Ray is a legend, right? Dominik is definitely a future legend. To be honest, he's got the heritage, he's got the talent, he just hasn't put the fucking time in, right? But Ray is an absolute legend, and yet we're here with fucking storylines where it's like, family difficulties, and Dominik Ray was costing Dominik matches. Now Dominik's costing Ray, and why did they always have to be like we come out of like this fucking shit storyline with Ray's daughter and Buddy Murphy before we sacked him after, making him look like a total perv, right? But why did they always have to be so cringy like that? Like I was all for like Dominik having some sort of match with his dad, but do we really have to draw it out this kind of bollocks? Like, yeah, he's not even ready. Let's be honest. He should be on NXT building himself up. This is ridiculous. How can you have someone like Karrion Kross, who sadly is no longer with the company? Sorry, bad example. But how can you have someone like Karrion Kross, right, who had legitimate fucking experience and time as a wrestler, put onto NXT, and then Dominik, who basically was trained with his dad in his dad's gym or whatever, and he's on your screen, like. I shouldn't say on your screen. I've not a problem with him being on NXT. I just don't get how he's on the main brand in Survivor Series, one of the big 4 fucking pay-per-views, and he's prominently displayed. What the fuck is that?
Yeah.
I'm not against the lad, but why is he so... he's not ready.
I feel like whenever you get to some level of like legend status in WWE, if you've got a kid, then it's easy to just go, give me kid the spotlight. It's like with Goldberg and his kid, like... I'll come back for my kid because I'm with dad, and then it's just like it's all about his kid. He's even in the bloody angles, and it's like
looking at his kid like, "You're next." No,
no, Dad, no. But no, I agree. I'm sick of this. I was sick of it, back in the bloody, as you said, the bloody Murphy days and stuff. But like, this is just it's getting pathetic now. Like literally weeks and weeks ago, we were looking at Ray costing Dominik matches by accident, and Dominik getting all upset, like, "I want to be my own man, Dad." And now it's the reverse, and it's like,
I know he's like he's a grown ass man, he's in his 20s or whatever now, but like even that, like, you're not a man, you're a kid.
You'll always be a kid. You'll always be part of the custody battle. So get over it. So yeah, I agree. I'm done with this, and it needs to just stop.
Stop it.
So I don't know what it is. You mentioned obviously with creeps and people called Aaliyah or Aliyah. Well, yeah, turns out that also happens with Aliyah or Aaliyah, however you say it, on SmackDown this week, because what the fuck was this, right? It cuts to a backstage segment, and Jeff Hardy's chatting to Aaliyah, And he just, he looks like a proper fucking creep. He's there and he's just like talking to her, he's rubbing his hands. He's like, yeah.
I know why they call me Hardy.
Well,
Oh God.
yeah. And then, so he's there. That's awkward and stuff, itself, the fact he's talking to her. And then, he's obviously got a scheduled interview. So the interviewer's there, comes over and is like, oh, hey, Jeff, yeah, you ready for the interview? And he's like, yeah, sure. So she walks off Aaliyah. It's like, okay, see you later. Walks a couple of steps and then ends up bumping into Sami Zayn. And Jeff's like, no, you fucking don't, mate. And runs over. And you know what I mean? Like, what are you doing? You're married in that, aren't you? Like, what are you doing?
What was any of this?
I don't know, yeah. Why was it even there? Is it meant to be building up Sami Zayn versus Jeff Hardy in a fucking Aaliyah on a pole match? I don't understand.
Oh, Carl, come on. That's just a level of ridiculous that WWE wouldn't do. She'd clearly be in a shark cage.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. But no, like, did you not just
this
get proper
Vince
weird...
Russo days.
Did you not get proper weird vibes from Jeff, especially? Just like, what the fuck, what's he doing? He didn't come across as like, he was concerned for her well-being or whatever. He came across as though, like, he fancies her and he's trying to groom her. And then you're like, no, you mustn't speak to this bad man. Stick with this bad man.
He's just sort of stood next to her like...
I'm just drying my hands. Why are they wet?
What's that in your pocket? It's a chopstick. Sorry.
Yeah. So yeah, I have no idea what this was, other than downright weird and awful.
Like, I feel like Vince is like, all right, look, I'm not an on-screen guy anymore, but we need some old fella to pair for a young girl. That's the WWE way. Yeah. And here we are.
It's baffling, to be fair, how Jeff Hardy's been used over the last kind of year. He must be not re-signing with them or something, so they're just fucking with him. I have no idea, but it's. I mean, atrocious.
It's Jeff, innit? Like, doesn't really matter.
We know your thoughts on Jeff. So that was WWE this week, Anthony. What are you thinking? For me, I am going to give it a 2. Now, there wasn't a lot going on, but as you can see, we only actually had 2 O-shites this week, and we had more highlights than O-shites. I think NXT, again, was just a much of a muchness for me. But
I'm the same. I couldn't really call anything in NXT a highlight, but that being said, I didn't really have any issues with it. So I'm not gonna let that affect the sort of scoring, if you will. Could it have had more going on? Yes. Will it have in the future? Probably. The trouble is they've totally rebranded with NXT, so I feel like there's been a few weeks now where there's not been a lot to say, but they're re-establishing a lot of shit, man. So it's hard to be super invested in anything really right now. So I'm in the same boat as you.
2s
really
all round. Definitely
2s all round.
Definitely number 2. So next, let us take it over to AEW. So the first highlight I want to talk about now, for me, this just oozed absolute class from the company. Now, some people are saying it's quite convoluted and stuff like that, but look, Moxley has gone to rehab to get himself some much needed help. Tony spoke about this on his Twitter page and stuff like that. His Twitter page, how old did I sound? On his Twitter feed? I don't know. On Twitter.
On the face tube.
He twittered it, but no. So obviously Tony wasn't going to come out.
He tweeted it out on Instagram.
Tony wasn't going to come out on the actual show and cut a promo or anything like that. He'd said everything that he wanted to do on kind of Twitter. But for me, this was a way of giving CM Punk, the kind of notoriety that he's got and stuff, to come out and to give respect and put some, respect on Moxley's name, really, showing the support for Mox that the company has, and him giving his kind of gold stamp on that as well. But so for me, I thought it was a really classy thing to do, and obviously it wasn't just him coming out only to do that. It was also obviously hyping the fact that him and Kingston were going to have a bit of a showdown on Rampage. So obviously it got you hyped for that as well. But yeah, bit of a small one. But yeah, we may be discussing that shortly as well. But
I totally agree with you though. I think the promo, like, some people who really don't want to like Punk might have gone like, why did it have to be Punk who addressed it? But I think it was really handled really well, and Punk put a lot of respect on his name. And at the end of the day, we just gotta, like, Mox has just got to concentrate on doing what he's doing, and I think we all look forward to seeing him back. But I think Punk handled that really well, and if you'd have asked me who should have gone out and spoke about the whole Mox situation, I probably wouldn't have picked Punk, but I should have because that was brilliant.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. So the next highlight, Carl, was, and you might even be surprised that I'm bringing this one to the table. Cody Rhodes versus Andrade. So thanks, Andrade, for bringing Cody to the highlights. No, honestly, this was a really good match. You know, Andrade won, which was the right. Again, for me, as you know, will be the right call. I have nothing against you, Cody, but you really need to turn heel. You just do it. Just turn heel. Anyway, but I don't think it's a bad thing, and it's something that we can discuss in a second. But I think it's definitely a different direction to go in with the whole Andrade Black versus Andrade Black. Sounds like a whole new wrestler. Andrade and Malachi, thank you. I nearly said Alistair, sorry. Versus Cody and Pac. So, you know, I actually think that's, you know, it's an interesting way of doing things. We've seen a lot of Cody and Malachi. So, you know, it's a good way of keeping things going without it being like over the top. Like, we don't like rematches in AEW, so let's not keep doing it. But I'm curious to know how you feel about this sort of new direction.
Yeah, I mean, I agree the match itself was obviously a really good match. It's no surprise with the talent involved in it. I also agree it was the right call. I also agree it was the right call. Hopefully it doesn't go down another Malachi Black route where Cody ends up getting the win back and it's kind of like, well, okay, but did he need it?
Cody has to, like... I don't think you got any worries because Cody's way of winning, he has to like disappear for a week, go through a whole Rocky montage where he trains in the woods or whatever, and then comes back as a renewed Cody with black hair this time, maybe grey, maybe blonde, we're not sure, but we know he's going to change his hair colour and he's going to win this time. Yay, go Cody.
Basically, he gets beat up and goes and has a little pamper and comes back on fleek and gets the job done. That's
what they don't tell him about. He has a spa day, you know, gets his hair did, and comes back a new man. You know, so how many times has this guy gone away and come back and found himself? Seriously,
in the essential oils in my soul.
I lost the TNT title. I need to go and think, and then I lost to Malachi. I need to go and think. It's like, just calm down.
Leave him alone. Leave him alone.
Sorry,
no, I think no, they are. No, I think the match itself was good, and yeah, it's interesting. Obviously, having Andrade and Black versus Cody and Pac, and it rhymes and everything, so it's all dead good. But no, it's definitely interesting because obviously the Lucha Bros are now doing their thing as the tag champs. So I was like wondering what was going to happen next with Pac, but yeah, I didn't expect this. But at the same time, you know, it could lead to something really interesting. It hasn't been announced for Full Gear yet. Whether or not that happens tonight. We will see, but I'd be surprised if these guys don't end up on that show in a tag team match in some capacity.
Agreed.
So the next one to talk about, obviously Moxley unable to compete in the Eliminator tournament, so what a fantastic replacement it was to bring back Miro for this. It made sense. I think it was exactly what was needed after that Moxley news to, you know, replace him with somebody the caliber of Miro, who had that history and he'd had stuff going on with the best friends before anyway, and he'd just lost the title and he'd already gone through this kind of journey of self-discovery with his guard and all this kind of stuff, and he came back, he was vicious, beat the shit out of Orange Cassidy, and then obviously the kind of the stare down with Danielson at the end too, I think.
No. Say it like it says in your notes.
The square down.
But I love it. I just feel like they're going to be like dancing.
Maybe. You know, Miro's a fan of being a cowboy. So yeah, I enjoyed it. Thoughts?
I mean, there's not much more I can add. I totally agree with everything you said. It's on the face of it an unusual pairing, but no, yeah, I think it was really good. And again, like you say, it makes Miro look like the animal that he is.
Do you know what?
Not to infringe on many copyrights from Batista. Sorry about that.
Do you know what though? I am seriously perplexed now what's going to happen with this, because we are all under the impression that Hangman is going to beat Omega. If he doesn't, everyone will probably be fuming and riot, right? But do you think Miro's going to beat Danielson? Or do you think Hangman's first defense is going to be against Danielson, and it's going to be like a face versus face thing?
Honestly, I would prefer that, because I wouldn't want Miro sort of going into a Hangman match, and like Hangman needs to win, he needs to successfully defend, and I wouldn't want Miro to be the one who took the fall for that. Not that it, like, I'm not going to go into this whole, like, you know, into that sort of wrestling community, if you will, thing of like, they're burying him because he took a loss. I'm not going to try and be that guy, but at the same time, I just think it, like, the momentum they're building with Miro, putting him up against Hangman might not be the right call so soon. So in a lot of senses, I think Danielson might be the right call. But like you say, face versus face would be an unusual first bout, unless they try and do it in like a respectful, let's have a match together because we're both great people.
And I mean that'll be weird in itself to see Danielson take the loss. Obviously, he's come in and, you know, been on top form, as has CM Punk. So yeah, imagine. I just hope whatever happens with it, they don't do what they did last time with the title eliminator and just put it on an episode of Dynamite like 2 weeks later. Like, I hope it is going to build to something, but we'll see. But yeah,
I mean, what we've got to bear in mind is obviously they deal with a lot less pay-per-views. They don't have a pay-per-view every month, so sometimes they have to give you stuff on Dynamite.
Yeah, no, it's true, and you know, I love the fact they do as well. But I feel like to see Danielson go up for the belt, that's pay-per-view worthy, isn't it? So it's kind of.
I mean, it is.
But I mean, it also makes me think, though,
balance, isn't it? Because sometimes it's great getting a pay-per-view every match on Dynamite. So it's just finding that balance. That one might not be the right call. I do agree with that. Yeah. That might be something you do reserve for pay-per-view.
Does it not make you think, though, that like maybe Hangman won't end up winning? The fans will be fuming, and then we'll get Omega versus Danielson.
No, we can't fume. No, Hangman has to win this. The story's been playing out too long, man. Hangman doesn't win, I'm going to be so pissed. So pissed.
But I mean, yeah, I don't know, because I'd love to see. I thought Omega versus Danielson was fantastic.
I mean, there's no, like, I don't know. We'll see what plays out. There may be a way that we end up with Omega Danielson before we get any sort of match between Hangman and Danielson. Yeah, I said all the right names in the right order. That's cool.
Okay.
You never know, Carl. I'm gonna hold out my opinion for now. But I don't know. I don't want Miro to be the guy who's the sacrificial lamb. Not the lamb, Carl.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on to the next highlights. Max Caster.
A legend.
Now, he is a fucking legend, right? I want to have a rap battle with him just because he would annihilate me. That's like the whole reason that I want to have a rap battle with him, right? But his rap this week, particularly fucking savage. Now, I know a lot of people have sort of fell out with him because of the controversy, and like his whole shtick and his whole point is being controversial and being edgy. And yes, he may have went too far that one time, but that's not going to happen again, is it, Max? Anyway, this one particularly savage. I love it when he goes in on someone and it's like it's cutting, it's funny, and it's super specific, and you can't get any better than him just tearing strips out of Danielson. And obviously, as we all know, he kind of went in on WWE with that father-in-law line. Obviously, for those who are not in the know, if you didn't know at the time, you've probably researched it, but Danielson's father-in-law is Johnny Ace, or John Laurinaitis, who is one of the men involved in a lot of the wild decisions WWE have been making in terms of releases. So it works, it tracks. And don't get me wrong, so many people are going to be like, oh, they're having pops at WWE again. It's like, of course they are. I think there's let's talk about this for a sec, right? I think there's an absolute world of difference, right? The little fish taking a pop at the big fish, right? Then I don't know, it shouldn't be. Everything should be fair game. But WWE having a pop at AEW is totally different than the little fish snapping at the heels of the big fish. Like, I don't have an issue when don't get me wrong, I don't think that should be all they ever do. But when they make like a little pop like this at WWE, I'm totally fine with it. I'm not one of these people who's like, oh, I wish they'd just get WWE out of their heads, or WWE's just living rent-free in their heads. It's like, just let it go, guys, right? Why aren't they? Like, why can you not acknowledge WWE? They are the biggest thing in wrestling, and you're the up-and-comer. You're going to acknowledge them. This is the thing for me. I don't really have an issue with it. They're not doing it all the time, constantly. And this...
Because they're not going head-to-head, Anthony. If you're not listening to Eric Bischoff's latest thing you know.
You know what? I want to respect Bischoff. I've got time for Bischoff, but the man's just losing the fucking point.
Mm-hmm.
He's totally losing the fucking point. This is not like, as much as people want to compare it. I've never heard
Never heard this.
I've never heard Tony Khan make the comparison to WCW. And if anyone wants to correct me, that's fine, right? But most of the time, the comparison to WCW is made by the fan base, right? They are not WCW. This is a totally different situation. They're a company 2 years old, right? And everyone wants to change the narrative now. Everyone's all like, oh yeah, did you beat a developmental talent in NXT? I remember, I was there, right? We were both there, Carl, when AEW...
You were there?
AEW started out and everyone was like, they'll never beat NXT. NXT's awesome, and NXT is its own brand in its own right, and it's just as good as Raw and SmackDown. And now they've been absolutely battered, right? Which never happened because they weren't competing, but now they've been absolutely battered, and there's no question that Dynamite draws more viewers. Suddenly NXT is a developmental brand again. That bugs me a little bit, right? That was the best rivalry that they could have had. It wouldn't have been fair for a company only less than a year old at the time, competing with Raw or SmackDown. The best comparative was NXT. They were the same size, they were the same sort of position, and NXT is slightly more developmental, but they were still more established. They should have battered Dynamite by all accounts, but they didn't, did they? So anyway, slight tangent, but I don't care. I don't want it all the time, but I don't mind when you get this kind of thing, a Max Caster's rap. It was funny as fuck, and I enjoyed the little jab at WWE.
Me too. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. It was current. It was very much a hot topic. It was just brilliant. You could see that the announce team absolutely popped for it as well. And yeah, I just thought it was excellent. I think Taz was laughing for a solid 10 minutes. It was brilliant. So
I wonder, I assume the commentary team, I know Tony Khan has to approve these raps now, but I assume the commentary team have no idea what he's going to say, which makes it more organic, the response.
I know, yeah. So yeah, I agree. Fantastic highlight. So the next one to talk about, Anthony, and I know that you particularly fucking love this one. I'll give my thoughts, but I'll let you wax lyrical on it as well. But effectively was the CM Punk versus Eddie Kingston showdown. So obviously this felt super, super real. It certainly came across like these guys have got some serious beef, or obviously they've got a lot of history there together. But I don't know, did Punk kind of came across as the heel to me on this?
Yeah, I found that rather interesting.
Yeah, and I know AEW say they don't believe in face and heel dynamics, despite having explicit face and heel entrance tunnels. I digress.
Despite the fact Omega's definitely being a bad guy right now.
Yeah, but no. But yeah, I don't know. I just think the whole thing was excellent. It was, there was a lot of passion there. It was very raw, as I like to always say about AEW for some reason, even though it's not, raw. But yeah, it got me hella invested for the match, which is exactly what you want to do. There's no way Eddie Kingston's winning in my book, which is obviously a shame. I feel like he's just had nothing but losses. But yeah, I fucking loved it. Thought it was good.
Let's not start the winning streak now. Then he might as well take another loss, and then we'll carry on.
Fair play.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like you say, it was very impassioned, and in the space of one promo, he got me so invested in this match. And like you say, Punk kind of came across as the heel. I really want to see Eddie get a bit of justice here. Obviously, he mentioned about Punk putting him down because, by all accounts, Eddie had a lot of beef back in the day as well. Anyway, yeah, I don't know. It's it's a picture that weirdly, as much as I like Punk, and don't look at our previous podcast where I probably didn't like Punk. As much as I like Punk, it's very believable that he was like that with Kingston. And I think that's what makes this promo work, because you go, yeah, you probably were a dick to him back in the day, actually. And I found it, I don't know how you felt about this, but I found it really funny for a man who has been so sort of anti-establishment, and a lot of Punk's whole, when we had the Summer of Punk and his whole gimmick was being against the system. A lot of what Eddie was saying was I didn't want to make friends with the booker. And, and it's so you were doing that kind of shit then, Punk?
I know,
kind of
yeah.
shit stuff against. Like that kind of stuff was interesting. It was interesting because like it's almost like Kingston is the Punk of AEW in a way. He's like totally against playing the game and playing the system the way that they want him to play it, and that was Punk in WWE, which I really enjoyed. And I don't, maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I actually really like that.
No, yeah, I agree with it, with all of that, to be fair. And, you know, you could imagine Punk was exactly that way in Ring of Honor. Obviously, he was super high on the card. He had a lot of, you know, he was Ring of Honor for a good, you know, bit of time before he moved on to WWE, and you could tell that he was a fish out of water when he got to WWE. It just wasn't the same. So, it feels
he was
very
an
real.
indie darling.
He was an indie darling. So I think we can both agree on that. And then, do you want to talk about the final highlight?
Yeah, last one, man. Yeah, Adam Cole versus John Silver. I kid. Sorry, that was mean. It does. One thing I will mention is I think good old Johnny wants a bit more prominence in the Dark Order. I think he's one of the best things in the Dark Order. I'd like to see more matches with the man. I'll be honest, right? But that being said, fantastic match. They have both been. I mean, Adam Cole for starters. A lot of people have been very up and down over Adam Cole. I don't know how you feel about it, Carl. I think he's been great. A lot of people are talking like, "Oh, you gave up NXT." Like, obviously, you had the Undisputed Era, a lot of well established. He was the NXT champion, and so on and so on. You gave that up for this in AEW, where you're in like, people really hate the Young Bucks, which is probably a good thing because that's what they're going for.
Mm-hmm.
But like, people like they get a call because it's, oh, you're in this stupid stable with the Young Bucks and they just kiss your cheek, and like it's almost, they're classing it as like a downgrade to what level he was at in NXT, and I'm like, he's having fun. There's definitely something coming with this. I think you've called this. I'm not even going to try and steal the credit here, Carl. I think you called this the minute he turned up that he is eventually going to try and basically steal the Elite from Omega. And I think that's what's coming, right? We're going to get an Adam Cole versus Omega feud, right? And it's going to be around that. He's going to come in and usurp him. And I totally agree with you on that one. So, patience, everyone, patience. But I think what he's been doing so far is great. I actually really enjoy the Young Bucks for the just unlikable knobs that they are. And I'm not trying to be mean to them by saying that. Like, that is what they're going for. Like, everything about them screams obnoxious. The way they dress, the way they act, the way they talk, everything about them is wanting you not to like them. So the people who don't like them, that's exactly what they want. That's what they're going for.
Yeah,
so,
1,000,000%. You know, heel Young Bucks are best Young Bucks. You know, they're naturally super talented, and you know they're over whether they're face or heel. But I much prefer them as heels. I think they're fantastic as being those little cocky, arrogant shits. But yeah, I think just a big shout out to Johnny Hungy. I think we don't see a lot of him, but when we see him, he's fucking brilliant.
I think
really
this
like
is the
guy.
kind of thing that they need to do with Adam Cole right now. Adam Cole, similar to Punk, and people really just they're keen on jumping the gun. Right, but these guys have come in and they've got prominence on the name. People know Adam Cole. People know CM Punk. People know Brian Danielson. Sorry, right. So you don't necessarily have to have them in big old feuds. That's coming. They will happen. But right now, Adam Cole putting up against John Silver, best thing that can happen to Silver because it gives him a bit of prominence and lets him show what he can fucking do. And you're totally right. He deserves so much credit.
Yeah, well, I agree because I said it. So yeah, I can't agree more with everything you said. I think I don't fully get this this nickname that he's come up with for Cole. So he's calling him Budge. Now, is that because he wouldn't budge on the fact that he wouldn't let go of his Twitch account? Like, that's the only connotation I can make. Maybe I'm just out of, I'm not cool. I don't know.
You're more clued in than me. I didn't know what the connection was at all. I'll be honest with you.
Right, but yeah, I mean, he's managed to get it over. There's like budge signs and everything in the audience. So yeah, fair play to him. I just think I love him. He's just absolutely off his head. He's super, strong and everything for the size of him as well. So I can see him, having a decent little run eventually. Maybe even getting like a TNT title or something like that one day. So yeah, I think it was good. I think it's nice, as you said, that someone with the notoriety of Adam Cole is working this type of match with John Silver, and it only elevates the younger talent as well. So. And I say the younger talent, Adam Cole's still got a bloody good few years ahead of him. So
funny how we look at it like that. Like,
because he's been around forever, but
he has been around a long time, and it's weird for someone as young as he is, to be fair. But yeah,
so yeah, What would you give for AEW this week in terms of ratings?
I don't want to jump the gun, Carl, because like for those who don't know, I know what Carl's score is because he actually cared to write it down. I fucking didn't.
Yeah.
So like I won't give you a score. Well, I will give you. I want you to go first because basically I'm going to agree with you, but if I don't want to take your score.
See, it's all he does.
I want to make it clear. I want to make it clear that I'm agreeing with the score you've already gave. I don't want to be like, I think it's this, and then you're like, well, I agree, because like that's not what happened here. I agree with the score you've wrote down, so I'm going to let you reveal the score.
Very diplomatic of you there. So I've given it a 3. So I think it was better than WWE, but it wasn't. It didn't completely blow me away. I think there was loads of good bits. There were some bits in there that were just okay and average. There was nothing on the, again, there's no shites this week for AEW. That's 2 weeks in a row. The stuff that pisses me off about AEW and the stuff that I think is a load of wank hasn't been there for 2 weeks. So, I can't say it's bad, but
that is the most British thing you've ever said on our podcast. I think
a load of wank.
It's a load of wank.
That's an absolute load of wank. That. So yeah, I just think. All in all, it was a very solid show. There were some really good bits, but mostly it was just solid. So it gets a 3 for me.
I couldn't have put it any better. The only thing I would say, and it's sort of just slightly building on your point, is that I think it's an interesting comparison. Like you say, it definitely deserves a slightly higher score than WWE because WWE, whilst it had a number of highlights and a few outshites, this had more highlights and absolutely no outshites. And I think that's where it edges that extra score. So I couldn't agree more what you're saying, but that was my reasoning for agreeing with you, if you will.
Fair play. So again, we haven't got any highlights from the rest of the world of wrestling this week, unfortunately.
Sadly, because Ring of Honor doesn't have a roster, so
well, yeah. I did catch a little bit of Impact. Obviously, Mickie James was on the show. She's always a highlight whenever she's on any show that she's on.
Absolute ledge. Ledge.
There was I think the main event was a tag match with Moose against what's his name, Alexander fella. So there was stuff that happened, but nothing kind of jumped out at me. It's like, I've got to talk about this. So
fair point.
Yeah. So
you could leave it in there consistently. Mickie James is awesome.
Just leave it there every week.
Yeah.
But yeah, there you go. So yeah, that was it. That was this week in wrestling. Make sure to check out our other segments this week. Obviously, we're going to be talking all the latest news and rumours in the Ringside Report, and we'll be back with another unique segment, which is going to be...
Before we go...
What?
To our wonderful audience, if you're feeling cold during this winter, why not get yourself an A2theK hoodie, which you can't get anywhere because it's mine.
Yeah.
Sorry, just wanted to throw that in there.
I love it.
I have a hoodie and it's awesome.
He does, and it is. So yeah, check out the news segment if you've watched this, and also check out our segment, Superstar Spotlight on Roman Reigns this week. So yeah, check those out. But for now, here is Thunder Rosa to bid you a farewell.
Hey everybody, this is Thunder Rosa, and you're watching or listening A2theK. A2theK.
A to the K.